Wow, it's been a while. The last time you saw me, I was driving down the California coast after finishing the Continental Divide Trail and wrapping up my Triple Crown. I've been traveling through Canada, Washington, Oregon, and then left the videos unfinished in California. So I thought that I owed you an explanation of where I've been for the last 11 months, what I've been up to, what the future of this channel looks like, and a few of the projects that I've got going on. We've certainly got a lot to talk about. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Adventure Together. My name's Al, trail name Lookout, and today we're relaunching the Adventure Together YouTube channel. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was I wanted to say a huge thank you to every one of you who spread the word about the fundraiser I had going on the CDT. While I was hiking the CDT, I was raising money for the Wilderness Foundation UK. You might have heard me at the end of every video asking you to donate to the Just Giving page, and I am ecstatic, over the moon. I'm really blown away by all the generosity because we hit the target. £3,100 for 3,100 miles. I'm not sure what that is in dollars. We actually surpassed the target. So I'm really happy with everyone coming in at the last minute and making some huge donations. Some of you gave so much money, and I'm just blown away because that money is going to do a lot of good for Wilderness Foundation UK. They're going to take kids and vulnerable adults out into nature for nature therapy and healing, orienteering and activities, things that they never really would have got because these kids are like inner city kids, urban kids, or people who just wouldn't have access to these kind of recreational pursuits. They're going to have the therapy they need, the group therapy and individual therapy, to overcome and grab the tools that they need mentally to deal with some of the things that they've been going through in their life. So this is going to make a huge difference. I'm really pleased that we all came together and we did something. It wasn't just me walking and that was it. These videos meant something. They reached a wider audience. They gave you pleasure and you gave back. And I'm really sorry I didn't give you an update at the time. I really should have. I owed you that explanation, and it's come a year too late, but hopefully you can be pleased about it. So that's some good news to start us off. Let's pick up where we left off. So my last video was called Walking Amongst Giants, and it was about visiting Redwood National Park in California and just seeing those huge trees. It just blew me away, the beauty. It was magnificent, just seeing all these amazing organisms that have just grown so huge. But what happened after that? Because I stopped making videos. Well, I actually did film the rest. I just didn't edit the videos. When I came back, I kind of hit the ground running. So after I left Redwood National Park, I went into San Francisco and I met up with Jackpot, who I hiked a portion of the Pacific Crest Trail with. We went through the Sierra together. So I met up with him and his partner and stayed overnight with them. The next day after I left Jackpot's place, I continued driving. I hung out on some beaches along the way and really enjoyed just taking time to be alone on some of these California beaches, relax, go swimming, and just have time to kind of unwind and be by myself. And then I drove into LA and I spent some time at Venice Beach and caught up with a few people there. And then I braved LAX and I flew to Chicago, where I met up with Zach. So Zach, some of you who were around before I started making hiking videos, back when I lived in Thailand, might remember Zach, who I shared a villa with. This is the first time that Zach and I got to catch up since we both left Thailand. We had some incredible times together and it was fantastic to see him. We went out to an arcade bar with loads of retro arcade game units, and then the next night we went out and saw some live electro music. We saw Deadmau5 live. That was mind-blowing as well. Just such a departure. The juxtaposition of where I was a few days previous, where I was alone in Redwoods and alone on a couple of California beaches, and a few days later I'm with a couple of thousand people watching an international DJ play live. And that was such a fun night. I haven't had a night out like that in a while, so I loved that. The next day we did a bit of sightseeing, going around Chicago, and Zach showed me a few of his favorite spots to have some Chicago cuisine. And then we went our separate ways. I went to hire a car and drive down to Kentucky to see Griff. And for those of you who don't know Griff, who joined me a bit later, Griff was a person that I hiked the first 400 miles with on the Appalachian Trail. And it was another catch-up trip that I just had so much fun. I spent a week with him and we got up to so much. He just showed me the real side of Kentucky. We went out to one of his friend's farms where we spent the whole day. It's a soybean farm. I got to ride in a combine harvester, which was a lot of fun. And then we shot some guns, and I did have some fun shooting some targets on the farm. It's my first time shooting real guns. Being in the UK, I've never really come into contact with them before. So it was fun to get my hands on them and play around with them for a bit. Other things I got up to at Griff's, we went to see the Mammoth Cave System.
Welcome to the cave. Walk this way.
We took a guided tour through the Mammoth Cave System, or at least a little bit of it. It's so extensive, and I've never been there before. I highly recommend going to see it if you're ever in the area. And then we capped off the visit by going to watch the Louisville City Football Club win the Players' Shield against their rivals, the Tampa Bay Rowdies. And it was a thriller of a match. Tampa Bay Rowdies took the lead 1-0. 1-0 down. Not looking good for the city. And then Louisville came back and won the game 2-1. What an amazing match it was. We were on the edge of our seats, although we were standing, and to watch them lift the trophy, it was a fantastic match. It actually meant something. It wasn't just a normal league match. So after I left Griff's, I flew into Las Vegas and I went to hire a car. And then I do have a Patreon, and I didn't take any money out of it for a really long time, over a year. I just had it sitting there in the background, and all the donations were piling up, and I hadn't used it. I didn't need to. And then when I got to Las Vegas, I withdrew all of that money from the Patreon, and I spent $1,000 on supplies for trail magic for the southbound CDT hikers. And I knew roughly where they would be because I was keeping in touch with a few of them, and drove out to a place where I knew they would be. And I gave trail magic for around 30 individual hikers. And it was wonderful to be able to give back. I haven't been able to do this before, but it feels amazing to be able to help out hikers who I don't know or I've just bumped into when we're passing on trail. I was able to bring a lot of vegan treats to the people on trail. I had dinners for them, chips, candy, drinks. I was surprised that the Gatorade went a long time before the sodas did. So the sodas weren't as popular as Gatorade, it seems, in the desert section. But it wasn't just about feeding people. I was able to help people in other ways. I was able to give rides to 3 hikers. I slack packed 4 hikers. I managed to deliver stuff for a couple further down trail. I filled up a water cache with around 50 liters of water. And I also, in my spare time while I was waiting for hikers to come, collected and cleared over 360 liters, that's 80 gallons of trash from the trail. So I was over the moon with being able to give back in so many ways to the people, the community that has supported me for 3 separate through hikes, 12,000 kilometers, over 8,000 miles for 423 days. I know it's only small compared to what I've received, but I felt that short of being able to open up my home to people, which I can't do, I don't live in the same country, but it was everything that I feel I could possibly have done short of trail maintenance. So for my last night on the CDT, I found a hiker on the side of the trail who needed a ride, and I took them all the way to Pytown, and we stayed at the Toaster House in Pytown, and I caught up with a whole load of hikers there. So we've arrived at the Pytown Toaster House, back here again, and the hikers have descended on it like flies to poop. But it's really cool. I've met a few of these guys before. So. The next day, after shuttling a few of them and doing a little bit of slack packing for a few of them, I set off on my journey back to Tucson, Arizona, back to where I started and flew into before the CDT. And I met up with Al and I stayed with him for a few days, and it was incredible. Al, you saw in my very first video from the CDT, it was fantastic to be able to bookend my CDT experience by seeing him at both at the start and finish. For those of you who don't know where he's from, we met on the AT, and he was just such a fantastic person to be around at the start of my Appalachian Trail. He's always got a smile on his face, such a fantastic character, so kind, a wonderful human being, and I feel so lucky to be able to call him a friend. It was a wonderful experience again to be able to catch up with so many people and do so much. And Tucson is where I flew out of and flew back to London. I was in London just for, I think, 2 days. I can't remember. I think it was 2 days. And then I flew out to Europe, firstly to Prague. After I came back from Europe, I was back in London full time, and I got to meet up with a few more people. So not just Zach from the villa in Thailand, but also another housemate. I got to meet Felix again. Felix was in London with his long-term girlfriend, and Felix and I got to spend the afternoon together catching up. This time I was on home turf hosting a friend, and we just happened to cross paths at the perfect time and see each other for the first time since I left Thailand. Earlier this year, another familiar face also came through London, and that was Hummingbird, who you might remember from the PCT. And we hiked together on and off through Northern California and Oregon. And we were never really in the same place for too long, but she was in a lot of the videos that I did from the Northern California and Oregon sections of the PCT. And she was in London with her friend Letters, and they just got back from hiking in Ireland, and they were spending a couple of days in London, and I got to host them and go around with them and play tour guide. Wonderful to see so many people, just and amazing to see so many familiar faces in such a short time. It seems like just a big reunion with so many individuals that I've met over the last few years. And that's everything, I guess, for what I was doing as far as traveling around after the CDT. But it's probably the best time now to talk about some of the projects. So, very excited to be able to share with you. I put together the first ever Continental Divide Trail class of 2024. And this book is something that I put together for the community of 2024. And much like the hiker yearbook that you might know from the Appalachian Trail that OD used to do, now it's the Appalachian Trail Museum that put it together, there isn't anything for the PCT or Continental Divide Trail, and I wanted to change that. So last year, I put together the Continental Divide Trail Class of 2024 book, and I'm doing it again this year. Right now, I'm taking submissions for people to have their profile in the Class of 2025 hiker yearbook for the Continental Divide Trail. If everything goes well and I can redo what I did last year with the Continental Divide Trail book, I will try to do the same thing again next year with not just the Continental Divide Trail, but also the Pacific Crest Trail hiker yearbook. But no promises on that. We're just going to see how it goes, gauge if I'm able to get enough people interested, because not being on trail, it's pretty hard to contact everyone and put the word out and get people interested in putting their names forward for these things. Last year, I didn't manage to capture or get the word out to anywhere near everyone who was on trail, and that's while I was hiking it. So we're going to see this year how it goes with me not being on trail, trying to contact people through Instagram and put the word out through Facebook. But we put it out once, and everyone who got it was very happy with it, and I'm hoping to redo that this year and get a lot of people excited about the project. So if you know anyone on the Continental Divide Trail this year, let them know that there is a link below this video that they can go to submit their profile and be part of the Continental Divide Trail Class of 2025 yearbook. These are available for purchase once they get printed up, and you can buy those through the website, but they are print to order this year only. I won't be printing any more than I need because I don't want to get caught with excess stock. So unless you order, then you don't get one, unfortunately, but that's just the way it is. So that brings me neatly to what I'm planning for the future. And we've already gone through the 2025 yearbook, but there are some other projects that are in the works. This week I'll be traveling to Colorado to attend the Older West gathering. It's in Jamestown, Colorado. I'm going to be there. I'm going to try and film it and get some videos of what it's like to be there and some of the speakers and the activities that they've got going on. But that's only for a few days, so afterwards I'm going to entertain myself by going on another hike around the collegiates, and I'm going to explore a few of the trails that they've got out there that are aside from just the Colorado Trail and the Continental Divide Trail. I'm going to be filming that as well, so you'll get a couple of vlogs from that as well coming out. And when I get back, I'm going to be launching a brand new series, which is going to be called The Blueprint. And The Blueprint is going to be a lot of hiking advice videos to get people who are planning to hike in the 2026 season and beyond ready for their hikes by answering any and every question that I can think of. So thinking about all of the things that I had, all of these questions about the unknown, and trying to answer those. But if you are a person or you know a person who's got a lot of questions about hiking, long distance hiking trails, through hikes, anything like that, gear, I'm going to be trying to cover those and put out as much content as possible to try and answer all of those questions succinctly and give you all of the advice that you need to get yourself prepared for going out on trail. And lastly, I am also working on bringing some products other than the Hiker Yearbook to my online store, advtgt.com/shop. There isn't anything up there at the moment apart from last year's Hiker Yearbook, so I'm going to try and expand that store. But it's hard because I don't want to just give you t-shirts, mugs, coffee things. I don't want that. I want stuff that's useful to you, stuff that you can't just buy everywhere and anywhere. So I'm looking at some very good high quality products to bring you that are going to actually make your life better. There are a few other things I'm really, really excited to discuss with you, but it's not the right time. Those things aren't ready to go. And I don't want to jinx them and they don't turn out to come to fruition, or they take a lot longer to bring to you than expected. So what I'll be doing is giving you updates on those going forward when they're relevant, because right now isn't the time, but I'm very excited for all of these things because I've got a lot of these things in the works, and there's a lot of hard work and a lot of time going into them, and I'm doing my best to bring them to you as soon as possible. So to wrap up, going forward, I'm going to be bringing you more videos and relaunching this channel with the Blueprint Hiker series. And if that sounds like something that you'd be into, something that you're interested in, make sure you subscribe and follow along so that you don't miss any of these videos coming out. So for now, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.